Harriet Tubman is who we're learning about today in honor of Black History Month, which starts today, February 1st. And I do not care one bit if the government decides they don't want to have a Black History Month anymore. Screw them. It is Black History Month. And here we're going to learn about my very favorite Black historical figure, which is Harriet Tubman. Now, I know that might be a little bit cliche, but let me just tell you, when I was a little girl, I saw a movie made about her life, and she has been like hooked into my heart ever since then. So we are starting off our look through Black History Month and the historical figures of Black history by starting with Harriet Tubman. So our source today is I'm looking at Britannica and then some additional sources that we will take a look at some of the maps and things. But here is Harriet Tubman's story. Harriet Tubman, who was born in 1820 in Dorchester County, Maryland, United States, died in March 10th of 1913 in Auburn, New York, was an American bondwoman, which is another word for slave, who escaped from slavery in the South to become a leading abolitionist before the American Civil War. She led dozens of enslaved people to freedom in the North along the route of the Underground Railroad, an elaborate secret network of safe houses organized for that purpose. On Veterans Day in 2024, Tubman was posthumously awarded the rank of one-star brigadier general in the Maryland National Guard in recognition of her military service during the American Civil War. Early in her life, she was born into slavery, Araminta Ross, who later adopted her mother's first name, Harriet. At about the age of 5, she was first hired out to work, initially serving as a nursemaid and later as a field hand, a cook, and a woodcutter. When she was about 12 years old, she reportedly refused to help an overseer punish another enslaved person, and she suffered a severe head injury when he threw an iron weight that struck her. She subsequently suffered seizures throughout her life. About 1844, she married John Tubman, a free Black man. Now, I have done a little bit of digging and have found out that there were no laws permitting enslaved persons to legally marry. So this would have probably been a marriage in the eyes of God, but Harriet Tubman would have had no legal rights as a married woman. In 1849, on the strength of rumors that she was about to be sold, so she was already at this point married about 5 years, Tubman fled to Philadelphia, leaving behind her husband, who refused to leave, her parents, and her siblings. In December 1850, she made her way to Baltimore, Maryland, from where she led her niece, Cassia Jolly, and her niece's 2 children, James Alfred and Araminta, to freedom. That journey was the first of some 13 increasingly dangerous forays into Maryland, in which, over the next decade, she conducted about 70 fugitive enslaved people along the Underground Railroad to Canada. Owing to exaggerated figures in Sarah Bradford's 1868 biography of Tubman, it was long held that Tubman had made about 19 journeys into Maryland and guided upward of 300 people out of enslavement. Now, I don't know why they feel the need to say this, because the truth is, if Harriet Tubman delivered 3 people or 300 people, she was still fucking badass. So we're going to celebrate her no matter how many people. And we will find out later, too, that she did, in fact, help about 700 enslaved people become free when she was helping the armies of the North during the Civil War. So let's count 700 or so people on her list. Tubman displayed extraordinary courage, persistence, and iron discipline, which she enforced upon her charges. If anyone decided to turn back, thereby endangering the mission, she reportedly threatened them with a gun and said, "You'll be free or die." She was also inventive, devising various strategies to better ensure success. One such example was escaping on Saturday nights, since it would not appear in the newspapers until Monday. The railroad's most famous conductor, Tubman became known as the Moses of her people. It's been said that she never lost a fugitive she was leading to freedom. Rewards were offered by slaveholders for Tubman's capture, while abolitionists celebrated her courage. John Brown, who consulted her about his own plans to organize an anti-slavery raid of a federal armory in Harpers Ferry, Virginia, now in West Virginia, referred to her as General Tubman. About 1858, she bought a small farm. She was a landowner. She bought a farm near Auburn, New York, where she placed her aged parents. She had brought them out of Maryland in June of 1857 and herself lived thereafter. From 1862 to 1865, she served as a scout as well as nurse and laundress for Union forces in South Carolina during the Civil War. Now, let's just take a look here for a second. South Carolina, right here, this is Maryland, where she had been enslaved. This is Pennsylvania, where she brought a lot of the enslaved peoples to be freed, and New York over here, where she had land. And North Carolina and South Carolina are all the way down here, well into enslaved territories. So when she was helping them, she went way past the point at which she would be in danger being down there in the South. However, she did this. So for the 2nd Carolina Volunteers, under the command of Colonel James Montgomery, Tubman spied on Confederate territory. When she returned with information about the locations of warehouses and ammunition, Montgomery's troops were able to make carefully planned attacks. For her wartime service, Tubman was paid so little that she had to support herself by selling homemade baked goods. She had to have a bake sale to live. All that she did for all of those people, and she had to have a bake sale to survive. Following the Civil War, Tubman settled in Auburn and began taking in orphans and older adults, a practice that eventuated in the Harriet Tubman Home for Aged and Indigent Negroes. Indigent means really, really poor. Tubman was a patient of the home herself from 1911 until her death in 1913, staying in a building known as John Brown Hall. The home later attracted the support of former abolitionist comrades and the citizens of Auburn, and it continued in existence until the early 1820s. Tubman also became involved in various other causes, including women's suffrage, which is fighting for the women's right to vote. In the late 1860s and again in the late 1890s, she applied for a federal pension for her work during the Civil War. Some 30 years after her service, a private bill providing a $20 monthly fee was passed by Congress. So she received $20 a month, 30 years after her service. And here we can see another picture of Ms. Tubman. These are some of the images that I have found of Ms. Tubman from over the years. A couple of these you're probably familiar with, but I just love seeing this beautiful face. Wow, look at that. Oh, she's just... And I found what I thought was a movie. It looks like it was a TV miniseries. It was on television that I saw it from the 1970s, which is when I believe I saw it. So this one was called A Woman Called Moses. And this is the one that pulled my heartstrings so that Harriet Tubman became my very favorite historical figure of any color and any era, to be fair, for years and years and years. So that is Black History Month, day number 1. Harriet Tubman, my very favorite. And we will just continue on. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am trying to build a following so that I can go live with 50 subscribers. I can go live on YouTube. And I am very much looking forward to doing that as soon as possible. So thank you for your support. And again, this is Snarky Positivity. Oh, I always leave on a positive note. And here's my positive note. Women like this, though rare, are not impossible. Any one of us could become the person that changes the world. So while right now we're living in a political climate that is, quite frankly, terrifying and horrifying, I also believe that there are women out there, possibly even little girls out there, who are right now growing into the young women and the middle-aged women and the elderly women that fucking change the world. So let's nurture those women. Let's bring them up. Let's give them encouragement, lift them up. And maybe you are one of those women. I don't know. It could be you. Anyway, there will always be women fighting for us. And that is good news. Okay, we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.